You see them in the pit and they're not in nice positions. They look like they're in agony.
Nobody knows how many soldiers are here, or if any can be identified after so long. The military has asked that they be given the same respect as today's fallen, so the bodies will not be shown. But the personal possessions found with them will be. Every fragment recovered will be cleaned, analysed and stored in an on-site mortuary. The graves have many secrets to reveal about the lost battalions of Fromelles. Who are these anonymous soldiers buried here? And how did they die? Peter Barton is a First World War historian. For the last 5 years, he's been on a quest through France, Germany, Switzerland and Australia, trying to piece together the truth behind the battle that claimed 8,000 casualties within 12 hours, the Battle of Fromelles.
I'm standing in the middle of a battlefield which is supremely well known, iconic to the Australian nation and almost unknown to the British nation. This is the Fromelles battlefield, 19th of July 1916. It's the first time the Australians attacked on the Western Front, the first time they attacked alongside the British. Here they are joining just behind me, the British in red, Australians in blue. It's always been looked upon as one of the most appalling military blunders of the First World War. And after the battle, there were hundreds of men missing in these fields around us.
In a single day, on this battlefield, 1,660 men disappeared. The bodies were never found. They were simply classified as missing. Some of them would have remained lost forever, had it not been for the determination of one man. Ten years ago, an Australian amateur historian, Lambis Inglesos, began searching for the missing soldiers of Fromelles.
I've always been compelled and appalled through the reading that I've done. I believe we've got a moral obligation, if we can find our missing men, that they should be recovered and be given their dignity and, if possible, their identity.
Lambis Inglesos believed that the missing men must have been buried by the Germans after the battle. During his search, he came across World War I aerial reconnaissance photographs of an area behind German lines called Pheasant Wood.
So here we have the photograph of Pheasant Wood taken several weeks before the battle. And here before Pheasant Wood there's absolutely no digging at all. And then subsequently we found more aerial photographs, and this is a critical one here, taken weeks after the battle. And here we have the dug ground. The Germans dug 8 pits and filled in 5. Here the 5 pits have been backfilled. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 3 pits have been left empty.
Lambis took his findings to the Australian military, but they didn't believe the evidence pointed to mass graves. He was getting nowhere until a chance meeting with British war historian Peter Barton.
He pinned me against a wall almost, and with his own peculiar brand of dogged persistence, informed me of his theories.
Peter Barton was sceptical, but fascinated. He knew it was German custom to bury the enemy dead in mass graves. He believed the key to unlocking the mystery lay in the vast Bavarian war archive in Munich. Bavarian troops fought in the battle, and Peter suspected they had kept a record of the burials. But the problem was finding it. The archive houses tens of thousands of original files from the First World War.
This place is amazing. This stuff has not been touched probably since the 1920s, since it was first bundled up. Look at this. Here we are. Order 5220, dated the 21st of July 1916, so that's the day after the battle closed. And this is the order to bury men behind Pheasant Wood. And when you look through here, it tells you exactly how that's got to be done. And it says bodies were taken to Pheasant Wood, about 400 to be buried there. So this is the piece of paper which set the entire ball rolling. Once that piece of paper had been found and presented to the authorities, there was no going back.
In May 2008, a test dig funded by the British and Australian governments discovered human remains at Pheasant Wood. Now, the task of recovering the lost battalions could finally begin. June 2009. It's 4 weeks into the excavation at Pheasant Wood. 14 experts, digging by hand, are working their way down layer by layer through 2 of the 8 graves. So far, 89 sets of remains have been recovered, and hundreds of artefacts, on a scale never seen before, begin to emerge. The Germans had stripped the bodies of their military identity tags and sent them to the Red Cross to be forwarded on to the soldiers' families. So any objects found on or near the body are carefully examined for clues to the soldier's identity.
Paper I have to get up here really quickly because sometimes when it comes into contact with the air it starts to disintegrate almost immediately. You can see the print of a Bible. It's Romans, and the person who owned it has underlined passages and marked in the margin. To underline passages, it's something he wants to read again. He wants to keep it with him. He's obviously getting strength from this. For when we were yet without strength, in something Christ died for the ungodly.
For when we were yet without strength, in due time Christ died for the ungodly. For scarcely...
Like most villages in Britain, the tiny hamlet of the Lee in Buckinghamshire was devastated by the Great War.
But God commendeth his love towards us, in that, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us.
Men from the Lee joined the 2nd 1st Bucks, one of the battalions that fought in the Battle of Fromelles. For generations, many families have tried to find out what happened to their missing men. Fenella Tillier is hoping that her great-uncle is among those found at Pheasant Wood. He was Lieutenant Charles Phipps, the son of the local vicar, an active supporter of the war.
I always have this photograph in my bedroom. He's got such an open, innocent, lovely face. Beautiful eyes. He was really terribly young. I mean, he was only 18 when he went in, you know. I think he felt he had to. I mean, his brother-in-law had gone. Can you imagine it? They just didn't know what they were in for.
In the first 5 months of the war, Charles Phipps was one of a million men, driven by a sense of patriotism, who volunteered to fight. Back then, the Lee was a close-knit rural community. 750 people lived and worked there. Of those, 160 men, more or less every eligible man, signed up for war. Many of them worked for the village landowner, Sir Arthur Stewart Liberty, the founder of the Liberty department store in London. One of them was 27-year-old Arnold Morris, the gamekeeper on the Liberty estate. Nearly a century later, Judy Simpson has come to the Lee to try and find out more about the grandfather she never knew.
There wasn't very much spoken about Arnold because so little was known about the circumstances surrounding his death. I know he married my grandmother Emily, and they came to live at Field End, which was the gamekeeper's cottage. And they had 3 children in a very short space of time, so he had quite a lot of responsibility.
When the heir to the Lee estate, Ivor Stewart Liberty, signed up, Arnold followed him and became his batman, his personal military servant. Local historian Mike Senior has studied the lives of the Lee soldiers.
People here shared the common notion that, the war would be over by Christmas.
Yes.
Ivor Stewart Liberty did write in the Lee magazine that join up quickly, men, because you'll miss it if you don't join quickly. And anyway, it's just like going on a holiday, he said, because you're going abroad and that sort of idea. So, yes, they were hopeful to begin with.
Just days before the young men of the Lee marched off to war, they held their final cricket match of the season. Bad weather interrupted play, and the men agreed to resume the match after the war. But it would never take place. 8 men from the Lee would never return from the Battle of Fromelles.
Well, this particular spot is very special for my family, because it was here that Arnold walked off towards the station on his way to France. And my grandmother with the 3 children were just there, and he turned round from the stile and waved to them. And my Uncle Arthur can actually remember that moment, but of course he never came back. My grandmother never gave up hope that he might return. And according to my mother, she hoped that perhaps he'd lost his memory and would suddenly regain it and come back. So she lived on until she was 81 and still clung to that hope.
To think your son's body is lying in a field somewhere and you can't go and get it and give it a decent burial. That must have been very heartbreaking, really.
The names of the missing soldiers of Fromelles are fading on the Lee War Memorial. Decades after the battle, there are few remaining monuments to their memory. But as the families wait for news from the excavation at Pheasant Wood, finally there's hope in the air.
If by any wonderful chance Arnold could be identified, it would be a dream come true, really.
July 2009. It's 2 months into the dig at Pheasant Wood. team have just 8 weeks left to complete the excavation. So far, 132 bodies have been recovered from 4 graves.
Kate, I've just found something.
Okay.
Looks like a pocket watch.
Yeah.
It says Sherwood and Company, London.
Ah, in 1916.
Is around his ribs, so it would have been on his chest.
So perhaps in, chest pocket. That's certainly something with potential to be an officer's possession.
As the graves continue to give up their dead, the story of the lost battalions of Fromelles begins to emerge. In May 1916, after months of training, the men from the Lee serving in the 2nd 1st Bucks packed their bags for France. Among them was Fenella Tillier's great-uncle, the vicar's son, Lieutenant Charles Phipps.
I've got a letter here, 2nd of May. Our division starts going to France on Monday. It'll be rather fun out there. And not such hard work as it's here. No idea. Best love, darling, to your father and Nin and babes. Ever your loving son. The King inspects us on Friday. Charles. The babe was my mother, Susan.
In the battalion was the heir to the Liberty estate, Captain Ivor Stewart Liberty, and his servant, the gamekeeper Arnold Morris. The Lee historian Mike Sr. has unearthed more information for Arnold's granddaughter, Judy Simpson.
Here is your grandfather. You recognise him?
Oh, yes.
He was singled out to be a scout, which was very important job because scouts used to be specially trained to go out into no man's land between the trenches and spy out what the enemy were doing in terms of digging trenches or putting up barbed wire and all that. It was a very hazardous job. But as a gamekeeper, he was well versed in creeping around. That's right. However, he could have had promotion on that sort of line a number of times, but he wanted to keep with Ivor out of loyalty, so that's what he did.
On the 24th of May 1916, the 2nd 1st Bucks Battalion set sail for France.
My darling mother, we had a nice smooth crossing. It's lovely weather but very hot, and the country is glorious. Anyway, I'm very happy and quite enjoying myself. Ever your loving son, Charles.
By the middle of 1916, the British and German armies on the Western Front were locked in stalemate. Both sides had dug in, and neither could gain a decisive breakthrough. The naive young recruits from the Lee were soon confronted by the realities of trench warfare.
My darling father, we are in the trenches again, but a few miles south of those which we were in last time. There is a horrible smell about. I suppose it's dead bodies. There are many graves all over the place. We were moved up here in a hurry while we were resting. Rotten luck, wasn't it? Atkinson and I have applied for a transfer to the Royal Flying Corps. It's much safer in an aeroplane than down here. It's bad. Best love, darling, to you all. Your very loving son, Charles. I don't think he was cut out for army life, really. I think he was rather a gentle boy. Man. Well, he had to become a man pretty quickly.
Over the next 4 weeks, the 2nd 1st Bucks Battalion moved from one part of the line to the next. They had yet to taste battle. On the 14th of July, they were transferred near the village of Fromelles, 37 miles north of the Battle of the Somme, which had been raging for 2 weeks. On the face of it, this looked like an easy posting. Fromelles had been quiet since a disastrous battle there in 1915. In that battle, the British had been defeated. More than 1,500 men were killed. But as war historian Peter Barton discovered, the Germans had made good use of the subsequent lull in the fighting.
That's when they started installing concrete pillboxes all the way down the line. They left nothing at all to chance. And of course, it was exactly the same unit that was here in 1915 as 1916, so they knew every blade of grass intimately.
Part of the German front line was manned by the 16th Bavarian Reserve Regiment. Among its ranks was a young message runner called Adolf Hitler. By now, he and his comrades were battle-hardened veterans who had no intention of relinquishing any territory.
We are looking in 1916 at the new frontier of the German Empire. Step over that line, you're in France. But here, this is very firmly Germany. These pillboxes, just to illustrate the example, wouldn't be lit by candles, as the dugouts over there would be. They've got electricity in here. They brought it from the Lille tramway system to electrically light all the pillboxes and the underground dugouts. Inside, they may be wallpapered, you'll find furniture, they may even have had 4-poster beds. Here, they are here to stay.
But on the opposite side of the battlefield, the mentality was totally different. The British strategy was one of offence, not defence. The new commander of the British 61st Division was Lieutenant General Sir Richard Haking. He'd been involved in the 1915 defeat at Fromelles. Now he was planning the same tactics on the same battleground again.
It was designed as a diversionary attack and nothing more than that. The Battle of the Somme was raging 60 kilometres to the south. And here, it was more of a demonstration to persuade the Germans that the same kind of offensive was about to begin in this sector. And the sole purpose was to keep German troops here so they were not sent south to support their comrades on the Somme.
But the British battalions wouldn't be alone. Days before the battle, they were joined by the Australian 5th Division, who had just arrived in France. It would be the first time Australian battalions had fought on the Western Front, and would forever be remembered as their darkest day.
It's a train ticket, a return train ticket from Fremantle to Perth. And we know that a lot of the soldiers would have left Australia from Fremantle. So that's an amazing item, and that preservation is stunning. I mean, there's so much about this that is poignant. Was he expecting to go back and use it when he got home? So it's just really beautiful.
In 1914, Australia was a fledgling nation. Most people still considered themselves British. Thousands of men joined the rush to fight for the motherland. Among them were young Brits who had emigrated to the New World for a better life. One of them was Robert Courtney Green, a footman from Nottingham.
Put this on the table over here. It's probably...
His British great-niece, Teresa Westerling, and her husband Graham are hoping that Robert is one of the soldiers in the mass graves. Teresa has inherited his mother's keepsakes of her son.
his mother would have received this. Dear Madam, I am posting you the identity disc of 1274 Corporal Green, reported missing. And this is his dog tag, and it would appear to us that there are still traces of his blood on his identity disc. I can't imagine how she felt when she received that. And that was all she got, all she had of him.
Robert Courtney Green was born into a life of domestic service. He trained as a footman at the Grand Thoresby Hall in Nottinghamshire. But in 1909, in search of adventure, he left his family and emigrated with a friend to a remote area in Western Australia. They worked as labourers until they'd saved enough money to buy a farm.
Sometimes I think I would rather be in England. But it is the freedom, Mother, that appeals to me. We are our own masters and the equal of any man we meet along the road. And that, as you know, is a great contrast to the old days, especially where you are living. I imagine a young man very keen to live a life. He wanted to be his own person. He wanted adventure, and he wanted to make something of himself.
Nonetheless, in July 1915, along with thousands of other young Australians, Robert left his farm and set sail for the front to defend the homeland he'd left 6 years earlier.
Dear Mother, you will get a bit of a surprise when you receive this and find that I am on my way to the front. It would be impossible to be one of the stay-at-homes in a war like this. 6 months I have been in altogether, and a jolly fine life it is.
But for Robert and thousands of his Australian comrades, the jolly fine life would soon be over. August 2009. The first war cemetery to be built in over 50 years is taking shape in the village of Fromelles. It's the work of the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, the organisation responsible for all the 20th century war cemeteries. All the soldiers currently being recovered from the mass graves at Pheasant Wood will be reburied here. The team is working to a tight deadline. The cemetery has to be finished in time for the opening ceremony, just 11 months away.
We're walking through what will be the burial area in the new cemetery. The headstone rows will run along rows here, where you see the caps on top of the foundations. And up towards the front is where the cross will be. We've got this red Belgian brick. We're using a creamy-coloured Messangis French stone, so it will look like all the other cemeteries that you see in France. That's one of the major tenets behind the whole project. It's about treating all of these soldiers in exactly the same way. Fromelles Pheasant Wood Military Cemetery, I think, will be a really good focus for all of those families and relatives that believe that they had somebody that fought here, even if they don't identify them. But there's a real focus for the memory.
Just across the road at Pheasant Wood, the excavation team is working hard to finish the dig. Their deadline is just 4 weeks away. So far, 187 soldiers have been recovered from 5 graves. But 1,660 men disappeared during the battle. Their families have been asked to take part in a genetics programme to see if their DNA can be matched with samples taken from each set of remains. Robert Courtney Green, the footman who emigrated for a better life, is among the missing. His great-niece, Teresa Westerling, has been advised to find more family members to donate DNA. To help with her quest, she's tracked down her long-lost relatives at Robert's birthplace in Nottingham. They had no idea of his existence.
It was a completely new story to them. So what I'm going to show them is going to be very exciting, I'm sure.
The DNA pool has now expanded. Robert has more than 40 relatives in Nottingham, including his 95-year-old niece, Betty.
Betty, you're looking well.
Thank you, my dear.
Oh, right. How are you?
Have we got a photograph of Robert, please?
Yeah,
well, this one.
I was going to say. Oh, yeah. So here he is.
Oh, that's Robert.
And he is a handsome chap, isn't he?
He is, definitely.
Yeah.
Teresa has been able to build up a better picture of Robert through the letters from his fiancée back in Australia.
And she's beautiful, isn't she? She's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
She's stunning looking.
She's pretty, isn't she?
Scots-born Nancy was planning to marry Robert once the war was over. She wrote regularly to Robert's mother back in England.
Dear Mrs. Green, your son Bob, my intended husband, asked me if I would send his photos home to you. I hope you will like the one with him in his uniform. I think he looks splendid and every inch a soldier. I used to admire him very much, but never thought it would be my good luck to get him. He is all the world to me, and we were very happy in each other's love. But still, I must be brave and just hope that he will return safely to me. But it is the lot of us women folk. We must just watch, wait and pray.
I was called down to the grave to get this. At first it just looked like a scrap of leather and I wasn't sure what it was. But I cleaned it up and there's this tiny little leather heart. And this was stitched all the way around the edge. So I unstitched it because, again, my aim is to try and identify someone. And when I did open it, very gently, it's very fragile. There's little tiny bits of paper inside, and as you can see there, still one fragment of hair, which, you know, this was probably a lock of hair sewn into a pouch by a loved one and given to the soldier as he went off to war. So I got quite choked up when I opened that.
Robert Courtney Green and his Australian battalion arrived at Fromelles in the middle of July 1916, just days before the battle. General Haking's plan was for the Australian 5th Division to take the left flank and the British 61st Division the right flank. In the centre, they would jointly attack the Sugarloaf, a German strongpoint that jutted out into no man's land. It was manned by machine gun crews, hidden in concrete pillboxes that could cover most of the battlefield.
The idea was they would pinch it out from both sides. British round one side, Australians round the other. And that was the key redoubt, the fortress in the middle of this entire battlefield. If they didn't take that, then the chances of succeeding on either side were very slim indeed. So this was the critical point which had to be taken.
Some senior commanders, including Field Marshal Sir Douglas Haig, expressed their doubts about the attack. Haking pressed ahead, but bad weather forced him to postpone the battle for 2 days. For the men standing by in the trenches, like Lieutenant Charles Phipps, it was a nerve-wracking wait.
He wrote in his diary, on the 16th of July, carrying stuff up the trenches, getting ready for the attack. 17th of July, attack postponed. Go back to billet, 10 p.m, and very pleased to get there. Can you imagine that you've ready to go into attack and it's postponed, and the relief to get back again? And then his last thing is 19th, Wednesday, 0 fixed for today. And that is the last thing he ever wrote in his diary.
In September 2009, the excavation at Pheasant Wood comes to an end. In all, 250 bodies have been recovered from the graves. The search for their identities now enters the next stage.
The Lord is my shepherd, therefore can I lack nothing. He shall feed me in a green pasture and lead me forth beside the waters of comfort.
5 months later, all but one of the soldiers are reburied at the new war cemetery. Each one is placed alongside the soldier he was found lying next to in the mass graves.
As the place where the body of this your servant may rest in peace.
The British and Australian soldiers making up the burial party are from the same battalions as the men that fought in the battle. The soldiers' graves are currently unmarked, awaiting the results of the forensic investigation to try and give them back their identities.
In 2 weeks' time we start the identification board, and we'll get as many identifications as we can there. I think it'd be fantastic if we get any more than one, because that's one more than we've currently got, but it would be wonderful to get any.
Fenella Tillier, the great niece of the vicar's son, Lieutenant Charles Phipps, is on her way to Fromelles to try and find out what happened to him.
Away! My ticket.
Oh, it won't get up there. Wow! Hey! Bang! Now what happens?
I've never been to France under or over the English Channel in all my 74 years. I can't believe it. Oh gosh, we're moving. Help. I'm very apprehensive. I mean, I don't know quite what I'm in for, let alone going in a tunnel under the sea. Lucky we're not in a boat, isn't it, being sick?
War historian Peter Barton has been piecing together an hour-by-hour account of the Battle of Fromelles. On the 19th of July 1916, British and Australian battalions were standing by in the trenches as 0 hour, 6 o'clock, approached. Their order was to capture the German trenches and seize the enemy's strong points. Most importantly, the sugar loaf.
Just after 6 p.m, the Australians climbed out of these blue trenches. The whistles blew, bayonets was fixed, and the Australians advanced upon the sugar loaf. The very moment they left the trenches, they were seen by the German observers. The machine guns came out of the dugout and just covered this area in a stream of lead, and that's instantly what those men walked into. And what happened was that the officers came forward, waving their revolvers to try to urge them on into the attack. The Germans saw the officers and cut those down straight away, so instantly most of the command was lost. Right here where we're standing, for instance, and this is only one example, there were literally heaps of bodies.
Just minutes into the attack, 1/3 of the Australian troops lay in shreds on the battlefield. Next to the Australians was the British 2nd 1st Bucks Battalion. In front of them, no man's land was at its widest. They had 400 yards of open ground to cover to reach the Sugarloaf. Standing by were the vicar's son, Lieutenant Charles Phipps, and 9 other men from the Lee. Peter Barton is taking Fenella Tillier on a tour of the battlefield where her great-uncle Charles died.
The Sugarloaf is directly ahead of us.
That where the trees
yellow
are?
flags?
Yeah?
That line of yellow flags?
That's the Sugarloaf.
That's the Sugarloaf. So
But
it
it's
comes
meant to be up on a hill.
No, this is the... a lot of people make this mistake. There were no hills here at all. But if you'd been looking at this in 1916, you would have been looking at a wall of earth. So all this ground where we are now is flat, and then you see a great ramp of earth about 10 feet high, and that's where the Germans were.
And where was all this war and everything they got caught up
Right
in?
here. It was
Right
very
here.
dense.
Roads going along this way.
That's right. Crossing.
God, you're making me arms go all pimply. This was the front line.
You are standing right on the front line, which your relatives would have known like the backs of their hands.
God.
Yeah. That's right. That's what they were hoping to do.
Oh, dear. They must have been confident that we're going to get them.
The troops were confident because for 4 days, 5 days beforehand, they had steel flying over their heads here and exploding on those German lines there. It was constant, almost non-stop, but those trenches they could see and hear were being blown to hell.
And they thought, this is it.
Exactly.
There's nothing
it just
left.
filled you
It
with
just-
confidence.
yeah.
And you persuaded yourself that nothing could survive such a cataclysm.
But in reality, the 4-day bombardment by the inexperienced Allied gunners hadn't succeeded. The Germans' main strong point, the Sugarloaf, with its hidden concrete pillboxes, remained intact.
You can see the German line. Well, we walked this, and without being shot at, it took us 3.5 minutes at a brisk walking pace to reach the German line. So on that day, under shell fire and machine gun fire and rifle fire, how long would it have taken to cross that? It's an impossible task. Absolutely impossible task.
Witnesses say that Lieutenant Charles Phipps was wounded early in the attack. He was being carried back to the trenches when he was hit by machine gun fire.
Unfortunately, the Germans were very, very ready for them. And it's here, between this point and the red flags over there, that your relatives attacked the Sugarloaf. And were cut down in these fields here where we're standing, just in front of us.
Poor Uncle Charles. I mean, you're shot down there. I mean, I don't know how far he would have been away. And try and bring him back to the trenches to safety. And in between them, you've got blimmin' war. And there's just no hope, so you just start them there. You're just shooting target, aren't you?
I'm afraid that was the situation here, yes. They were very, very easy targets.
Appalling.
The heir to the Lee estate, Captain Ivor Stewart Liberty, survived, but he lost his leg. Ivor's loyal servant, the gamekeeper Arnold Morris, followed his master over the top, but was never seen again. 6 other men from the Lee village were also missing.
It's too horrific to really bring an emotion into it, I think. If one was here when it was happening, then still one couldn't.
I think that's true. I think I spend my life immersed in this, and I have no perception of what it was like. Absolutely none at all. I have an imagination, but that's faulty. And it's only the men who were here who really know. You have a flavour of it in the letters.
Yes.
And in family memories.
You
but
do.
We can never know. We can never know.
No, all I find myself doing all the time is saying to them, thank you. Thank you. And dear God, please look after you. That's all I can do. And just love them. Desolate land.
Acknowledge, we pray, a sheep of your own fold, a lamb of your own flock, a sinner of your own redeeming.
In just 4 weeks' time, the first results from the identification process will be released.
In the blessed rest of everlasting peace.
Which of the men now buried here will be named?
Amen.
War historian Peter Barton has been retracing the steps of the Australian battalions on the night of the 19th of July, 1916. At the northern end of the battlefield, the Australian 32nd Battalion managed to break through the German front lines. Among the ranks was Corporal Robert Courtney Green, the British footman who had emigrated for a better life. His great-niece, Teresa Westerling, has come to Fromelles to find out what happened to Robert.
These flags here mark the German front line.
Right.
We know that Robert got beyond this point, according to the witness accounts. The next line was there, and then the third line was beyond, and we believe that he ended up over here somewhere. And we know from the records that he was shot in the chest.
Right.
And they said that he was put in a place of comparative safety, which must be within a German trench. Come on in here.
Gosh.
Mind the nettles. I'll go first and tread a few down for you.
Oh, wow.
It's quite an evocative place, this, because we know what happened here. This is the second trench,
right,
and there'll be another one further into this wood.
Yeah.
So it's either in this ditch here, this ditch of comparative safety, or the next one through the woods there, that Robert Courtney Green was left.
As Robert lay dying, his comrades tried desperately to defend their positions, but they were slowly being surrounded by German troops.
As night fell, the attacks became stronger and stronger. In fact, the German orders said, you must either kill them or rout them by 5 o'clock in the morning, which is around about dawn time. And that's precisely what they did. How do you know where your enemy is in the dark? Well, the Germans had a very clever and rather chilling solution to that, and that was simply to sing the national anthem. As they encroached further towards the Australians, they would sing, and if somebody sang next to them, you knew they were German. If you saw a shadowy figure over there who wasn't singing, he's an Australian. Very simple solution, very chilling. I've just shivered thinking about it.
Yeah.
So you can imagine Robert lying here, and in amongst the shell fire and the machine gun fire, he'll catch these little snatches of German national anthem. Well, it's impossible to imagine how he must have felt.
When he realised that it was his end, to lay there for hours, where would his mind have gone? Back to Nancy in Australia? And did he think about what might have been, or what had passed?
The British commander, Lieutenant General Haking, called off the battle at 5:30 a.m. on the 20th of July. The front lines were exactly as they had been 12 hours earlier. Not 1 inch of territory was gained. The British and Australian battalions suffered 8,000 casualties. Many of them were left to die where they fell, in no man's land. The decomposing bodies were fast becoming a disease risk to the Germans.
The most critical thing for the German troops after the battle was over was to clear the battlefield of dead. And they did that in the same efficient manner as they'd killed these men. They put them on a light railway, trucks piled high with the bodies, and they brought them to this place. This is Pheasant Wood. And by the time the bodies reached here, there were already 8 pits dug. Between the 21st of July and the 27th of July, those pits were dug, filled and completely covered over, and those men were forgotten.
The soldiers would lie here, undetected, for almost a century. For many survivors, the ordeal wasn't over yet. The Germans interrogated hundreds of prisoners they'd taken during the battle.
The prisoners sang like birds. They told them where they came from, what unit they were with, who was on the left or the right. They also carried things which they should not have carried. Worst of all is this document here. This is General Haking's operations order for the Fromelles attack. So some officer had brought the attack orders across no man's land. He's been captured or killed. The Germans have found this piece of paper, which means that within 24 hours of that battle, the Germans knew it was a complete feint. They could then send as many men south to support their comrades on the Somme as they wanted, and it would have been a complete and utter waste, a dreadful failure.
Despite the fiasco, British High Command put a positive spin on the battle. There was no mention of the casualties. Of those, 1,660 men were missing. Robert Courtney Green was one of them. His fiancée, Nancy, poured out her anguish in her letters to his mother.
I have got a large photo of him in his uniform, framed, hanging in my bedroom here. And often, as I look at it, the tears roll down my cheeks, and I just think that I would give the whole wide world if I could only clasp the dear boy in my arms once more. This blow is almost more than I can bear. He was my own dear boy, and I loved him more than words can tell.
The battle would haunt families for generations. The village of the Lee in Buckinghamshire went into mourning for the loss of 8 of its young men.
This is a very sad photograph because it's in 1913, just before the war. These 4 young men died, leg off. Appalling, isn't it? So sad.
Charles Phipps's body was never recovered. His brother, also a serving officer, died 3 years later. Their father, the village vicar, had encouraged his sons to go to war. He was left a broken man.
He was only 60 when he died, of a broken heart. I think your will to live has gone. It's very hard to keep struggling. And in the end, I think you just give up.
After the battle, hundreds of women were left to bring up their families alone. Judy Simpson's grandfather, Arnold Morris, the gamekeeper of the Lee, had loyally followed his master to war. He was never seen again. With the breadwinner gone and 3 children to support, his wife struggled to make ends meet.
Eventually, it broke up the family completely because 2 of the 3 children went to an orphanage for children who'd lost their fathers in the First World War. But only 2 out of the 3 children were permitted to go there. So my mother had to go to a completely different home. So for her, she'd lost both parents. The pain that she had to live with for the rest of her life had such a huge impact on her. So it affected them all, and through that generation, it's been passed on. The sadness has been passed on to my generation. And it's very hard to think of that sacrifice and to feel that it was worth it.
The final touches are being put to the new war graves cemetery in Fromelles. Nearly a century after the battle, which families will find out if the search for their missing men is finally over?
We do have hair for this case. He had light brown hair that was straight and short, less than 5 centimetres in length. The injury to the left ribs looks as though it's caused by blast trauma.
In March 2010, a panel of military, anthropology and DNA experts from Britain and Australia meet in London.
Some braces, the ends of braces.
Their task is to identify as many soldiers as possible. They'll consider all the evidence gathered on each man, the DNA, the remains, artefacts, and any personal records.
If we had a DNA indicator that was really strongly tying us to a name, we've got quite a bit to go on with this one. We just need some decent DNA really to progress it.
The identification process will continue for the next 4 years. But so far, only half the families of all the missing Fromelles soldiers have come forward.
I mean, there's a lot of sets of remains that have very good DNA profiles, but there's no family member to match up to, which is a bit of a shame and very frustrating for us, because we think, if only we had the family member, they'd be through. And so we're looking forward to the next 4 years of fun.
Absolutely, but it does come down to if the families don't come forward, we won't identify their relatives if they're in the grave.
Nearly a century after the battle, The new cemetery for the 250 recovered soldiers is finished. So far, 96 soldiers have been identified. These lucky ones have their own named headstones. And among them is Robert Courtney Green.
So, it's just along this road here. Here we are. Robert Courtney Green.
I never thought we'd see this.
No. No. I'm so pleased
Yes, it's
that this has been done.
yes, it's the end of the line. But, oh, what an end! It's wonderful.
Nancy would be so happy.
Yeah.
She would want this so much, and she would be very, very proud.
For Teresa Westerling and the families of the other 95 identified soldiers, the search for their relative is finally over. But there are still more than 1,400 men missing from the battle. Peter Barton has discovered that Pheasant Wood is not the end of the story.
As to whether Pheasant Wood is unique, well, in my research in Munich, it shows that there are at least 30 other communal grave sites in this immediate area, covering the war era. Whether they will ever be explored in the same way as this one remains to be seen.
For Robert Courtney Green's great-niece, there is one final puzzle to solve. Teresa has come to Scotland to try and find out what happened to his fiancée, Nancy.
It's always been one of the great questions in this story. What happened to Nancy? Where did she go? Her letters stopped abruptly. I do feel so terribly lonely now that my beloved boy has gone. In fact, I don't want to live. He was my all. I loved him with my whole heart. I shall never love another as I loved him.
The Westerlings are meeting genealogist Michelle Leonard near Nancy's birthplace in Ayrshire.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, very good. Lovely to meet you.
You too.
Yes.
Lovely to meet you,
Well,
Graham. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, so you probably want to know what happened to Nancy.
Yes. The big
question. Actually, I don't have anything to tell you about Nancy. What I've got to tell you about is Agnes.
Right.
In Scotland, when someone is called Nancy, it's generally not their real name.
Yes.
Generally, their birth name, the name on their birth certificate would be Agnes, or sometimes Anne, but more often Agnes. Mm-hmm. And in Nancy's case, it's definitely Agnes.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So I found her on a passenger list going from Fremantle to Sydney in Australia in May 1918.
Right.
And she settled in Sydney. And I just want to give you a document here to have a little look at, if you have a little read of that.
Oh, she got married. So pleased for her.
Yeah.
So pleased for her. An Irish butcher.
An Irish butcher, yeah. And his name was Reg. But not only did she get married, but if you have a look at this passenger list here, she actually did come back to Scotland once. She came back in June 1928.
Right.
And if you have a look right here, you'll find her and her family.
Right.
Mr. Reginald Taylor.
Right.
Mrs. Agnes.
And two children?
Ronald
and Robert.
Ronald and Robert. Ronald William Taylor was born in 1923 and Robert James Taylor in 1924. There are no Roberts in the Marshall family. There are no Roberts in the Taylor family. So I can only surmise that Robert James was named after Bob.
And why?
So she never forgot it. And if you have a look at this one here,
Gosh.
that's Nancy.
Oh, how lovely.
Walking down a street in Sydney.
Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so pleased that she had a life. We knew what happened to Bob. We know that he's got his marked grave. And now we know what happened to the two of them. And I didn't understand until I saw that, how much I cared. Well, it's to name her son Robert. She couldn't have done a more fitting thing, could she? I wonder if her husband knew. I wonder if she said, I want to name him Robert because, or whether that was her secret.
For the families of the 1,400 soldiers still missing, the search continues. Fenella Tillier's great-uncle, Charles Phipps, has not been identified. British uniforms were found during the dig, but as yet, no soldiers from any of the British battalions have been named.
I've still got hope. I've still got hope. But I wish they could find him.
Fenella is trying to find his name. One among the many on the panels of the Loos Memorial to the Missing in northern France.
I found you. I found you. It does really bring it home. What they went through, just gunned down. And so young. And then you come here and you see all these names, all these people that have died, all these young ones, and you find him there. It's just, life isn't fair, and what was it for? Goodbye, Uncle Charles. God bless you, and thank you. You're not alone, are you? Thousands and thousands. I'm going home now. You're coming with me? You come with me. I'll put my arms round you and I'll be with you. Keep right on to the end of the road. Keep right on to the end.
On Thursday at 10, new critically acclaimed US drama Southland continues over on More 4.